What's up, guys? I'm here with Karloz Manufactura, one of the most influential persons in the dark scene, thanks to his 3 different projects and also his record labels, Crunch Pod Records and Our Media. How are you, Karloz?
Doing good. Thanks for asking.
That's good, man. First off, I wanted to take the time to wish you a happy birthday, because I know it was a few days ago, right?
Yeah, that's right.
How did you spend your day, man?
Working on music, man. It's what I love to do. It's my favorite pastime. It's my life.
It's your passion?
Yes.
It's very good. And I know you're a very busy man, thanks to all your 3 different projects and also your record label. And I also know that you just released a new album for your Broken Pavilion project, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Can you tell us more about this album?
Well, it's 3 years in the making. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the original singer that lives in Seattle to do some of the vocals. Okay. And because of that, I ended up having to find some new artists, new vocalists that are on the label and friends of friends. And they ended up actually doing a really great job. So because of them, I was able to put the album together.
That's good. And you said there were complications. Were they because of COVID-19?
Yeah, because of COVID-19, I had to basically kind of do the post-production in a completely different fashion than I normally do. And I had to do some of the recording techniques a little different than what I'm normally used to.
And now that we're talking about COVID-19, how else has it affected your life?
Well, technically, I'm still working, so it hasn't really affected me a whole lot, other than the issues with society, and the way that we have to keep our distances and wear our masks. But I know that it's affected a lot of friends, a lot of close friends, with their jobs and with their livelihoods. So.
During this time, you can't see your friends or family that much.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, it's been that's been hard as well. I'm used to seeing a lot of friends and spending time with friends, and so now it's mostly just phone calls and social media. But that's it.
Yeah. Well, now tell me about your project Manufactura. I know it's a very influential project in the whole dark scene all around the world. When did you start doing music for Manufactura?
I started in 1998. It was basically just experimental noise, basically just for experimentation purposes. Yeah. And just to play around. And eventually I had some friends that were DJs and musicians that were telling me that I should start putting music out, that I should focus on it. And so eventually I did end up putting a few demos in 2000, and then by 2001 I put out the new album, or the first album. And now I'm working on the 10th album.
So. Oh, that's good, man. And what influenced you into starting Manufactura, and what were your influences going into Manufactura?
My primary musical influence was David Lynch. He's known as a director, but he's also a musician. Yeah. When I saw Eraserhead when I was a young kid, I had never experienced anything like that, where it's basically almost a silent film, but it's just sound that he was using and he was producing for the movie to give movement to what he was showing. Yeah. That it impacted me in a way that to this day it still influences what I do. So,
how would you say your experience throughout the years has been thanks to Manufactura?
Well, it's a love-hate thing, mostly because it's opened a lot of doors and a lot of opportunities. Yeah. Also because I'm able to connect with people all over the world. Collaboration with other artists. But also a hate thing because, when I first started out, I was one of a handful of Hispanic musicians. I think maybe there was only Josico around at the time, Cenobita, outside of that, at least in that genre, it was very tough. And then going out on tour and, experiencing some of the negativities and racism around the country, it created a lot of problems as well.
I bet you see everything when you're on the road.
Yeah, I pretty much have seen it all. Yeah.
Now tell me about your logo, your knife logo. What does it mean to you, your Manufactura logo?
Well, the logo it can mean whatever. It depends on the individual and how they feel about it. Okay. But to me, it means endurance. Okay. It means that you've gone through the shit and you've now surpassed it. So it basically stands for endurance.
That's good. And also, you said it stands for whatever the person seeing it wants
Yes.
to believe it is.
Yes, because I know that there's a few people out there that have had it tattooed on themselves.
Yeah.
And so, I don't want to put a significance on it.
Okay.
It's a symbol,
Okay.
but that symbol stands for what the individual experiencing the symbol will want it to be. The same thing with a lot of the music. I try to leave it in a certain fashion, open-ended,
Okay.
so that when the listener is interacting with the music, they're interacting in their own experience.
It's more abstract.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
And in a way, it's directed so that your feelings and emotions take you a certain way.
It's awesome.
And you decide, how it's going to lead you. To some people, it helps them go through a lot of bad stuff, and to other people, it helps them relieve their anger and their stress. So,
Yeah, because it's very powerful too.
some of it is,
Yeah.
some of it is kind of mellow, and
Yeah.
it's all over the place.
That's good. Is there anything new you're working for, Manufactura?
Basically, I'm going to be doing a lot of analog material for this new one, a lot of hardware,
Okay.
and I'm going to be mixing a few different elements that I've used in the past, but I'm going to heighten them up a little bit more in this.
Awesome.
Fireworks.
Now, tell me about your record labels, because thanks to them, you have given them many bands all around the world an opportunity to be heard, and also you're supporting many different bands. Can you tell me more about these record labels of yours?
Well, technically, there's only one now.
Okay.
When I started out, it was a partnership between me and Converter,
Okay.
and we partnered up and created Arca Media
Okay.
back in 2000. And we were going to be able to put out mostly some of his music and then some other. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, and so I kept Arca Media, the name, mostly as a production unit.
Okay.
For mastering and graphic work, and then CrunchPod, when I signed on with them back in 2005, they've always been really good to me. Ben Arp has been a true gentleman, and he's always been solid with me. And when he decided to step away from music and not have anything to do with the label, I asked him if he'd be interested in leaving me the name, because I didn't want to release under anybody else. I've always felt that CrunchPod and Manufactura have always been a solid union.
Oh, that's good.
And so because of that, I kept the name. I released a couple of albums under that, and then I started looking into maybe, offering other artists that might need a place to release music. People similar like me that are on the fringe or on the cusp of something different that is not necessarily, even though our scene is not mainstream, there's still a mainstream type of style. And so I like to be on the outside of that.
Okay.
And so because of that, I wanted to have something to offer other artists to do that. And it's done really well so far. So thankfully, it's received well, and a lot of people so far like a lot of the releases we've been putting out. So.
Sounds great, man.
Yeah.
Well, earlier we were talking about how COVID-19 affected you. Now, what would you recommend everybody at home watching you right now to do during this pandemic?
Well, first off, I think you definitely got to wear a mask. I think it's it's kind of rude. It's just kind of like being an asshole if you're not wearing a mask. There's a lot of people putting their lives at risk. It's kind of necessary as well. We were doing so well, and because of the current politic climate and the nonsense that we have as far as the leadership in this country, it's kind of degraded that, and because of that, we've kind of gone back to a bad place, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. So if we don't at least do the basic minimum of covering up and protecting yourself, then there's really pointless.
Yeah, we need to take the proper precautions, basically. Well, thank you very much, Karloz Manufactura, for your words and also for your time, for letting us talk to us about your music, your legacy, and also for being such a great support to Club Terminal for many, many years.
Love Club Terminal.
Thank you, man. We love you too, man.
Thank you.
Well, this has been Karloz Manufactura for Terminal TV.